And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Friday morning's flying weather looking something like this. IFR here from the southwest coast around Togiak Bay there, on across the southern Bering Sea, north of the Aleutians, and you head up here to the north becomes VFR. Nunivak Island, St. Matthew Island, right on up into the Chukchi Sea. Some IFR up here, North Slope, Arctic coast, and mostly VFR in the interior, but southern Alaska conditions not quite as good as the interior up here. As you can see, some IFR along the Alaska Range, Kenai Peninsula, North Gulf Coast, solid IFR in the southeast coast. And then for the afternoon, Friday, the IFR kind of melts away over the Panhandle, but lingers up there to the north and back toward Yakutat and into the North Gulf Coast Range, and still lingering there, western Prince William Sound. Marginal VFR along the Alaska Range, Talkeetnas, but VFR is sit in the valley, on down through Cook Inlet to Fognak Island. Good VFR in the interior, and a little bit of IFR remaining up here on the western Arctic coast. And IFR kind of shifting southward here a little bit, now coming down toward the Aleutians across the southern Bering Sea, but pulling off the southwest coast. And for Saturday morning, an enhancement of the IFR, as you can see here from Friday afternoon. IFR now all across the Aleutians, into the eastern Bering Sea here northward along the Yukon Delta coast. Also IFR up here for the western Arctic coast again, and some lower conditions over the northeast interior. IFR back into the Alaska Range and the Talkeetna Mountains, saying VFR for Cook Inlet and much of the Susitna Valley areas, with IFR again, eastern Kenai Peninsula, North Gulf Coast, and in over the Panhandle. And then for the afternoon, just some IFR here, northern Prince William Sound, and right along the North Gulf Coast, just a narrow band there. Otherwise, marginal VFR for the southeast coast, here through the central interior, across the lower Yukon River Valley, out to Kotzebue Sound into Norton Sound. And a lot less IFR now over the Bering Sea, just some left around St. Matthew Island and possibly Gamble. Marginal VFR for the Arctic coast, and much of the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Next system here, pushing a band of IFR into the western Aleutians. And for passes, Anatuvik and Adigan, another VFR day coming up for Friday. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, look for marginal VFR at times. Marginal also for rainy and windy. Isabel, occasionally marginal. And Mentasta, same forecast, occasional marginal VFR. And the same forecast for Tanita, looking rather marginal for Friday. Portage, though, IFR, especially on that eastern entrance. And for Chilcoot and White, IFR. Freezing levels, 4,000 feet up over the Arctic coast, north slope there. Some upper level high pressure up in that area. Also 4,000 feet here over the western part of the state, but cooler down over the Aleutians, looking at 2,000 feet here into Bristol Bay, and about 4,000 feet for the Gulf of Alaska and the Panhandle. Moving on to icing. Look for considerable moderate rime icing here for the southeast coast, North Gulf Coast, and across south central Alaska for Friday. Otherwise, icing free up into the central interior, on out to the Arctic coast. Much of the Bering Sea looking pretty good. Could be some icing here over the southeast Bering Sea that may slip down toward the north side of the Alaska Peninsula. Otherwise, nothing very significant there. And the jet stream here, really not much showing much discernible flow. A couple of weak low here over the Yukon Flats, 60 knot southwest winds there just to the east of that. Otherwise, looking at northeast winds turning easterly, 60 to 65 knots across the southern Bering into the western Aleutians. Light winds, 33,000 feet here from Bristol Bay across southern Alaska into the southeast coast with a stronger jet, as you can see, well to the south. And for 9,000 feet, kind of a 4-week lows here, keeping winds light and variable across all the forecast area. Maybe southerlies up to as high as 30 knots here at 9,000 feet there for the northern Panhandle, in across Burwash areas. Otherwise light for the remainder of the southeast coast. and could see some northeasterlies at 30 knots for the western Aleutians. 3,000 feet, light variable winds here about sums it up for the interior areas as well as the Bering Sea. Kind of a north to northeast wind flow here. Weak low off the southwest coast, a little bit stronger high over the far western Bering, giving that northerly flow here that kind of diverges as it approaches the Aleutians. Could see maybe 25 knot winds out of the west here for the Alaska Peninsula, and maybe a narrow band of 40 knot easterlies there for the North Gulf Coast, but again, not too significant. And as a result, no significant turbulence forecast for the state tomorrow.